evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mahoning Drive-In Theater, the largest single-screen drive-in in the United States. We're certainly glad you could be with us this evening, and don't forget the concession stand is open with all kinds of great things to eat and drink.
Welcome back to another episode of Mahoning Drive-In Radio. Mark here, your general manager and co-host of this fine podcast. Virgil will be joining us shortly, but in the meantime, we have the power trio. We have the Mahoning Gate crew, the Lot Boys. We have Dave, we have John, we have Will. Ladies and gentlemen, Dave, John, and Will. So we always do when we have a staff member on the show is we want to get a little of the background. We want to get to know the story behind the story behind the smiling face you see at the gate, or the scowling face you're unlucky to see in the middle of the night if you do the wrong thing. So we'll start with, who is the most senior member of the staff here that we are speaking with? Do we know? Dave's the new guy, right?
I'm the trainee. So I defer to my two managers, John and Will. I think Will, maybe are you the senior here?
Nah, I mean John started on the same day.
So we'll go alphabetically. John, the heat's on you. So, John, when did you first come to the Mahoning? Did you come to the theater before you were an employee, or was being employed your first experience?
My first experience at the drive-in, so I had heard about it in 2020, at the end of 2020. So it was September of 2020, and I heard about the Weekend of Terror. Unfortunately, I was not in the state, and I saw the lineup, and I was just like, this is the first time I'd ever heard anything about the Mahoning, and I was like heartbroken because it was an Italian weekend. I was like, what is this? Like, what am I looking at right now? You know? And then I basically, from there, I looked up the schedule, and I was like, oh my God, like I would go to every single event from here to the end of the season, because it was like, I mean, the lineup was just stacked. Like all of Harry's Tuesday events in 2020 were just insane, and then all of the the Mahoning events were just like, I was shocked. I couldn't believe that a place like this existed. And so when I finally did make it to the drive-in was when you guys showed Rosemary's Baby, and it was the original aspect ratio, 35 millimeter, and it was just a sight to behold. Like, it was just incredible. I mean, I went out on a Tuesday, and I live 100 miles away. It's 2 hours, straight shot. And it was a no-brainer for me. Like, I saw that and I was like, oh, I have to do this. Like, if I don't do this, I'm going to be upset. So I took that beautiful, just that wonderful fall drive through the Delaware Water Gap, and then
it's a really nice drive. The first time I came down, I think I came down and like the sun was setting, so it was that golden light over that nature area. It's memorable. That's my favorite.
That's my favorite part is when like kind of later in the season, it was getting it started to get a little bit darker, but it was really just that whole thing, because it was 2020, so like nobody had really like gone out or anything. This is probably the first like event or whatever that I had been to since the pandemic started, and it was just like the fall drive, plus my friends, and just and the movie that we were going to see, just all of it was perfect. And yeah, I mean that was it. I mean, I saw the marquee, and it was just, I mean, that's it. Like, it was, I was struck with Cupid's arrow. Like, it was, I was like, oh yeah, this place is going to be a part of my life forever. Like, that's it. And unfortunately, some things happened where I wasn't able to make it to any of the other events, not without lack of trying, but it didn't work out. So when the next year rolled around and I just saw that the Mahoning was hiring, and I didn't have a job at the moment, but I was looking for a job. I was like, well, let's see if they'll hire somebody who lives 2 hours away, and can't come every day, but we'll try. And sure enough, yeah, I interviewed with Jess. It went really well, and then the second time I was ever at the Mahoning was the day that we all, you know, got together before the season to introduce ourselves and get to know the team. And then that's where I met Will, and boy, it was a wild ride.
And a potential morning zoo DJ duo was.
Yeah, exactly. Mad Dog and the Bear met, and that was it. You know, it was fate, and we bonded. The best part, which I, you know, still hold closely, is that the best, you know, we bonded over the bathroom, because we both drive 2 hours. So I guess I'll just tell this real quick. But when I first got there or whatever, I wasn't, you know, I was still nervous. I was expecting to see the porta potties behind the building, and like I said, I just drove 2 hours, and I went to a Wawa on the way, and they didn't have a bathroom, which I was like, okay, like, I don't know how that even, like,
same thing happened to me.
Yeah, yeah, that was another thing that connected us. I was like, I guess the Wawas around here don't have bathrooms. Yeah, I wanted to make sure I wasn't late and everything, and so when I rolled up, I didn't see the porta potties, and I was like, oh, great, like, I don't even know, you know.
I'll just be walking toward the back of the lot now.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, don't mind me. I'm just going to go into the bushes real quick. But yeah, because I wasn't there when the bathrooms were open, and I didn't know that there was a bathroom, which, you know, in hindsight, of course, there is a bathroom.
You're not the only person who said that. We had customers who said the same thing, because they were so used to the porta potties, they didn't know we had bathrooms. Exactly. It's like, well, you kind of have to at some point. But
yeah. And then I remember, like, we didn't know everyone's name yet, but I just remember, like, seeing Virgil and being like, you know, that guy looks like he knows what's going on, because I didn't see the documentary or anything. I didn't know, like, anybody's name. Yeah, so I went up to Virgil, and he was, you know, like, the nicest person ever. He was like, yeah, man, you know, come on. And he's like, I'll show you where it is, and he pointed me in, and yeah, Will was standing real close by, you know, like, listening in on the conversation.
Heard the word bathroom, and his eyes lit up.
Yeah, exactly. And then after that, you know, he came up to me. He's like, yeah, thanks. He's like, yeah, thanks, man, for asking for that bathroom. He's like, I was dying. You know, I drove 2 hours that I needed to go. I was like, yeah, I'm glad I could help and everything. So, and then after I met everybody, it was just like, yeah, this is gonna be awesome. Like, it just that when we met everybody, I got so excited about it. You know, like, I had such a good feeling leaving. Like, it just was like, oh yeah, this is right. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is where I'm supposed to be. And that's how I got into it.
So speaking of Will, what is your Mahoning origin story?
I guess I started coming up in 2000. I think it was 17. It was like Cannibal Holocaust and Cannibal Ferox, I think.
That was family movie night. That was like really edgy Italian horror cannibal movies.
That was your Thanksgiving weekend, like, right?
Yeah, I was blown away. Like I was like, you know, the chance of seeing that drive-in, you know, got my attention. So I came up with some friends, and then was hooked ever since. You know, just kind of. I wasn't like one of the hardcores, I'd say, especially after working there and meeting them. But I would come up for, like, you know, the shows that I was like pretty excited about. I guess, like, working there wise, as my girlfriend saw that you guys were hiring, and then she's like, oh, you know, Mahoning's hiring. And I was like, yeah, that's cool and all, but I live like 2.5 hours away, so I don't really think that's like feasible. And then I don't know, it just kind of like stuck on me, and it kind of turned into one of those things that would bother me if I didn't apply. I don't know if that makes sense, but I get like that with things that I figure I should do. So I was like, I'll just apply. And then just like John said, that first day when we all met up, I was like hooked. The place became pretty much like a drug. So, but yeah, I was pretty shy. That's why I was like very excited. John asked, because I can be a timid person, you know. I don't know people. So yeah, he was my hero that day.
Well, I always was like not a wildly outgoing person either. And when they initially gave me the first thing I was allowed to do was work the ticket booth. And I was inside. I was like, I have to talk to everybody who comes through here. But I loved it.
Yeah.
And they moved me to the register.
I had the same exact feeling.
Yeah.
I was pretty worried about it myself because the last job I had like that, because I worked construction and maintenance and like, well, all sorts of stuff. But like, was in like a high school and working at like Giant as a cashier. And man, that's pretty miserable. So I was like, that was my last experience, working like in a, capacity, the public, quote unquote. So yeah, it's complete opposite because everybody at Mahoning like wants to be there.
I was just going to say.
Giant. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to be a Giant. So yeah, so it's actually really rewarding.
People go to the grocery store because they have to. But everybody at the Mahoning is generally rolling in excited and happy to be there.
Yeah, and it's very rewarding. It's one I didn't think it would be, but one of my favorite aspects of the place. So,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But you get the people that you get both sides. You get people who have tried really hard to get there, and it's been a real pain, and they're just kind of like anxious and they just kind of want to get in and just. They're not the friendliest, but that's, pretty few and far between. But the vast majority are just people with like the biggest smiles on their faces. You get to see all the T-shirts, all the merch. People just because people roll. People. It's no hold bar. Like they roll out with all their stuff, and it's just Planet of the Apes weekend. Everyone had their toys and everything, and they all wanted to like show them off, and it's just. It makes you so happy to see it, to see people that you can tell that haven't gotten that reaction to their fandom of just like us being like, oh, that's amazing. And they're like, oh, what this is, and you're like, yeah, and they're just, it sets the tone for the evening. And we're lucky enough to get to do that.
I agree with you guys. My absolute favorite job there, my absolute favorite thing to do there is gate. I love meeting people. It's so fantastic. You get to see the regulars, but you get to see. I love when someone comes up and you ask them whether or not they've ever been there before, and they're like, "No, this is my first time." That's great. When you can give them, what we kind of call the spiel, but when you can give them that. And you can share that level of enthusiasm that you have and you feel coming back from them. It's magic. I mean, so many people, like when they pull in here, from the sign to seeing the screen, this is just such a like magical experience for them. Dude, we get a rush from that. When we work at the gate, we get a rush from the customers from that magic that they're bringing with them. And we'd like to share that back. It's, as John said, it's so cool when you see someone like wearing a shirt, like a T-shirt. Everybody, they're cool shirts, and you're like, dude, that is a really cool T-shirt. And like the smile that people get on their face when you say something like that, because who walks, like they're not used to someone walking up to them and saying, dude, that's a cool shirt. That's a great reward of their fandom. So.
Who doesn't love getting their shirt complimented? Like I wear my shirts for myself, but like if somebody's like, hey, that's really cool, and they know, I mean, it's like, oh, sweet,
Well, half the time, if you're out in public wearing the kind of shirts that we all wear and like, nobody has any idea what it is, and it's a thrill.
And they think you're insane.
Yeah.
You must be think you're a crazy person because you have blood and chainsaws and leather face. Like it's just.
It does usually clear the crowd for you. I mean, you're walking down. You don't have to worry about that 6-foot radius when you're wearing a Texas Chainsaw T-shirt.
No, the crowd parts on its own.
Exactly.
So Virgil has joined us.
Hi guys.
We were just going through everyone's origin story. We heard from John and Will thus far of how they discovered the Mahoning, how they came to work there, and Dave's up next.
Dave's is by far my favorite, by the way. Like I'm glad Dave's going last because his first day there is one of the funniest things I have ever because there's so many things about it that I relate to. And then there's just so much that I just feel so bad about. But anyway, sorry, I just wanted to preface that.
That's okay. Well, Mark, actually, I have you or to blame or to thank for my introduction to the Mahoning, because you had published an article about the Mahoning and the Joe Bob Jamboree on Joe Bob's Facebook fan page. So I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then I read the article and was reading more about the Mahoning, and I thought, wow, this place sounds like really cool. And this was at the end of kind of the whole COVID thing and coming out of the pandemic and lockdown, and between not being able to go to movies, which I love to do during the pandemic, and just the general stress of work. I was in a rough spot. So I was kind of looking for something to get me out of that. So I reached out to you. You got me in touch with Jess. And I said, and she said, well, would you be interested in volunteering? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So my first weekend there was Zombie Fest last year. And literally the first time I drove on the lot to volunteer was the first time I had ever been on the lot. So I was a little intimidated, because I was like, I don't know anybody, and I'm from, an hour and a half away, and I'm here by myself. But the amazing thing about the Mahoning is that you're on that lot for 30 minutes and you've already made 5 friends, and everybody treats you like your family. I've never felt so welcomed anywhere before. Now, Will did hit me with the lot crew hazing right off the bat. This was pretty rough because I got there.
Very accidental. Very accidental.
No, I'm starting to believe that it was pretty intentional. After working around Will, No, I'm totally joking.
There was some hazing involved, I feel, because I didn't know anybody. I didn't know what the scope of my responsibilities. So we were asked to move a garbage can that had been placed under a rain spout that literally filled the garbage can to the rim with water. So as you can imagine, and this wasn't like one of the this was a big garbage can. This could have been turned into like a jacuzzi. So we're like, okay, we have to move this. And as we get ready to do it, Will gets a page on the walkie-talkies that, Will, lot crew, I need you at the gate immediately. So Will shoots off. And if you know Will doesn't move anywhere.
If you know Will, he hears the click of that walkie-talkie. He's like he's like a deer hearing like a predator. Those ears perk up, and it's like, what?
It's like Pavlov's dog. If Pavlov wants to give a dog crack, so Will's off like a shot, and I'm standing there looking at this gigantic garbage can full of water, and thinking, is this a test? Is this a test of how I'm going to handle my responsibilities here at the Mahoning? Because I don't want to fail this. I want to impress these people. So I'm trying to move this massive garbage can, and it's like probably I'm like inching it, and it's slopping over. I'm getting soaked, but I thought, no, I'm committed now. This thing is, and I emptied that garbage can full of water, and like 5 minutes later, Will comes back and he goes, okay, let's get that can moved. And I'm like, it's done. It's empty. And
I didn't believe it though.
It's like a 40-gallon can filled with water. And if anybody knows how heavy water is, like a 5-gallon bucket of water is like, you need like 2 arms like waddling with it to move it. So
I will not tell you how graceful it was between point A and point B at the end of this story. I can tell you it wasn't graceful, and my dad's sneakers got wet that day, but the Nikes stood up well to the trial. So, and if you know that weekend, it rained all weekend anyway, so it really was a rare dry point anyway. So, but the point of the story is I did pass my initial initiation and hazing. So after that, I knew I was set.
Yeah, it was a little easy after that, right there.
Yeah, that was the hardest part of the whole year. was
After
just
that-
that one can.
After that, I just settled into Dungaree Daddy, and I knew that.
I'm sorry. I'm going to have to, if Dave is speaking, I'm just going to have to mute myself because this guy just, I don't know, it was something about it. Just, I was muted that whole time, Dave. I was cracking up. That's my favorite story. I love that story so much because I can just see you with your Nikes on, with your, you got your dungarees, they got a nice crease on them, and they got those white Nikes, and you're just trotting out there on your first day, and you're like, I'm gonna change the world right now, and then it's just
hell out of these people.
exactly, and the thing standing between you and that goal is a 40-gallon bucket of water, and you don't let it deter you. And it's not just water; it's like a garbage soup, because I don't know if Dave made that clear, but it was into the garbage bag. It wasn't like an empty can. It went into the bag.
But I do have to preface that it was my first weekend, quote unquote, kind of in charge of the lot.
Yeah, that's right.
And we've laid the groundwork that I'm a pretty timid person. So when the call came over that I had to deal with something, I just headed that way, and I didn't. And I kind of forget, the trash can went by the wayside. So it wasn't directly hazing.
I thought it was more like exerting your dominance as my manager. So
we're just scared.
Yeah, that's totally Will's way. Is he loves to flash that badge around.
Someday, my goal is to move from trainee to your level, but
to junior employee. Yeah,
junior employee. I know it's. I know I have work to do to get there, but we all need a goal. We all need a goal.
Yeah, and conveniently, that was because we had been promoted the weekend before, so we were I'm the manager, lot manager, John, I'm the lot manager, Will, I guess, and also that was. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that happened before that, because I think was Lynch weekend before that.
I believe before Zombie Fest, it was probably 2 weeks before. Very close.
So the weekend that Dave came in, Will was we had just been promoted, and I had taken that weekend off to go to the drive-in because it was my friend's birthday, and I wanted him to see the place, and it was Zombie Fest. What better weekend to do that? So I had made sure to put that in ahead of time. Of course, it's it is pouring rain the whole time, to the point where we left we left I think the second night, because we were just he was soaked, and so I felt so bad, because I'm just warm and dry eating popcorn, watching Will and this
you guys go take care of that.
Yeah, Will's walking around with his yellow rain jacket on, and this new guy who thinks he's the king of the lot just comes storming through the mud with he's stunting on me with his fresh white Nikes. I'm sorry, I'm going to talk about dungarees a lot, because that's that's, if you know Dave, that Dave's nickname is the Dungaree Daddy. He's going to deny it. He's going to try to push back on it.
I never approved that.
We have talked for, I feel hours at this point about how perfect that name encompasses him. We were talking about that before you guys came on. We were. It's probably because I bring it up a lot, but it's I think it's important. But yeah, I was just, and that was also, that weekend was the weekend that Kaylin started too. And I remember she just had a cotton sweatshirt on, and I felt so bad for her, because she was just exactly. It was this girl's gonna get hypothermia right now. You know what I mean?
That was a rough weekend. Just everything was wet. Everything was
just cold and wet. Yeah.
Yeah, which
it was a rough year.
Oh yeah,
it was a wet.
That's gonna be the is it the name of your book, Dave?
Yeah,
everything wet.
I said I said eventually when I write the definitive biography of the Mahoning Drive-In, it's going to be the Mahoning Drive-In, subtitled "Why Is Everything Always Wet?"
Because at night when the temperature drops,
it does. It takes
when the
forever
temperature
to dry,
drops too, even when it's dry all day, it'll be bone dry all day. And then when the temperature drops, you just get that, it's a valley, so you get that valley dew on things, and you're just
There's
like,
that mist and dew on
yeah.
everything. Oh, you're just sitting there. I mean, it's like been bone dry all day. It's been like,
been 98 degrees all
98
day.
degrees in the shade, and there is no shade. And you're like sitting there at night, and you're like, okay, now I'm going to watch the movie, and it'll cool down, and it'll be comfortable. And then you like reach down and like touch your pants, and you're like, why are my pants wet? And then you put your arms on the arm of your chair, and it's like, why are where's this water coming from?
Nature's mist.
You touch the top of your candy box, and it's wet, and you're like, why is my candy box wet?
Well, it's definitely worth mentioning that you guys, Will and John, you took that promotion at the perfect time, and even better, you guys took it so to heart. And there was no doubt in our mind when the time came that you guys were absolutely perfect for the role. From the day you guys came in, it was like, who are these guys? They're amazing. And that's a big thing with the Mahoning is doing the job properly is one thing, but fitting into the madness of the family and the brew of all these different personalities, it takes a certain type,
Definitely.
And you guys were phenomenal and remain to be phenomenal for us.
Thank you, Virgil.
But what I love is more than anything is that you guys have become such a tight-knit group, like you guys are like three musketeers on the lot, and there's not a thing that could come up that is too big or demanding for you guys. It's like you're always ready to jump in, make the experience as beautiful as possible for people. And it goes so far. The main thing I heard about that Joe Bob event, which was looking back on it, pretty much controlled chaos.
It was, but you can't even, I hate to make this comparison, but it's almost like when you like break an arm or something and you can't like remember like the pain, but like pain wasn't pain's not the right word. It was like, when you look back, I can't wrap my head around the scope of what it really was, because there was so much happening.
Yeah, it was never ending too. Yep.
Or like when you wipe out on Virgil's scooter, it's that
kind of... we're jumping all the way to July now.
Oh, that's nice.
We're just gonna pass by everything, just go right to July. I was hoping to save that one.
My therapist has recommended I don't talk about Joe Bob weekend because apparently there's some.
Yeah, that was the ultimate bonding experience though for us last year. Is we literally went to war together and came out, and we were, the best part about that weekend is that we were all looking out for each other more than any other weekend. Like we were on heat stroke alert, we were on like total rain alert, and like it was everything that could possibly be thrown at us got thrown at us. And it was the longest damn night, 4 nights ever,
Was it 4? Was it 4
It's
nights?
nuts. Yeah, we had that Thursday tacked on as well.
Yeah, it was 4 nights. Oh my God. I forgot. Yeah, that Thursday was so wonderful. Yeah.
We thought like, oh, this is going to be a breeze. We got this.
We said that. We were like, oh, if it's anything like this is fine. But we were all watching the movie, watching Smokey and the Bandit, looking at Joe Bob, explain why Smokey and the Bandit's so awesome. It was like, wow.
Yeah, this we can do.
Yeah, like, wow,
this is fine.
It's all going to be this easy, and then we found it.
Yeah, and then it went crazy.
Let's not forget, the weekend before that was VHS Fest, which was like the biggest weekend, Oh my gosh.
And it rained a lot during VHS Fest.
Yeah, it had the year had this habit of raining, of like being really dry during the week and then just dumping on the weekend.
Yeah.
But VHS Fest, John and Will, that was another really cool opportunity for us though, because we were responsible for the photo op that week. So you guys and Will, you guys built this amazing tape man. I mean, the work you put into that and what went into that. I mean, that thing was like so cool. You know, don't
We
gloss
talked
over
about that on the production podcast when we had Zeneca and John on. But yeah, I mean, that's a whole other added thing that you guys brought to the table, is the fact that you're all insanely handy and like are the perfect fit when we do need some construction done and some sets built. But VHS Fest was your guys' baby. You took that concept and like leveled it up to a whole other place that I never could have imagined it was going, you know?
Looking back, that was a lot of fun because I do, Will and I both have construction backgrounds. Dave, I don't know what he does. I think he lives in the woods or something, but,
I have no construction background nor any handy genes at all. So I'm the guy
he's got a lot of other genes though, if you know what I'm talking about.
All right, back to that. But I'm the guy who stands there and hands them the hammer, though. So I think that serves. And I
not anymore, though.
Yep.
Not anymore. Not anymore. Though. You can't say that because you do have experience now. We forced it upon you.
That's right.
And I wield a wicked staple gun too. You know,
yeah. Oh man, you should. Yeah, you got to see this guy with a staple gun. It's a thing of beauty, honestly. I mean, he made a podium presentable for Joe Bob with a staple gun. You know,
there it is. The power of a staple gun.
That VHS Fest was crazy. I mean, we were talking about Tape Man for like, I don't know, Will, what was it, like a month or two before that or something?
Oh, the planning was there, yeah.
Yeah, we're at the diner.
Yeah,
the Beacon.
Shout out Beacon. Like I said, Will and I both have like construction backgrounds. You know, I've worked with like blueprints and stuff and, you know, whatever, different materials. It was cool because like we just, like James asked us to do it because he, you know, he works at like a full-time job or whatever and then does this stuff on the weekend. So it's like, you know, he puts a lot of work in. So James James asked us because he was just really booked and, you know, Joe Bob was the weekend after. And
yeah, he was like working,
you know, he was, he and you know, what he produced was really unbelievable for Joe Bob.
Always is.
So he was really, you know, he had a lot on his plate. So he asked us to do it and we were both kind of shakily like, yeah, sure. You know, like, I guess. We didn't even like Tape Man was what we like came to. I mean, we threw around a lot of ideas. We threw around, you know, Will had some great ideas about like, you know, making like a walk-in mom and pop video shop that you could like, you know, play out renting videos and stuff. Yeah, stuff like that. We were going to do like a throne, you know, I said like a dragon head and
I want to make a rideable one. Remember the rideable VHS that you could strap in?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we thought we could do like two hamster wheels and then put like tape around it and like you could be, you know, the reels inside, the sprockets inside.
Keep in mind, this is an annual event. It can still happen.
Yeah, I mean, we just threw out like 5 ideas right there. So who knows? Everybody
that was the wacky.
That was the biggest idea, but who knows? Maybe one day it can come to fruition. But yeah, it was a really cool experience. And we saw that James made a tape man years earlier, and it was really cool. So we were like, let's do, you know, we decided like that would be the most practical and like a fun interactive thing. So what we decided, you know, it was like getting to the materials. This may be, you know, I don't know if this is interesting at all, but we like finally picking the materials. I wanted, you know, we were going to do wood, but that's not that malleable. And then like, you know, I wanted to do like steel and make it like, you know, just like a static figure instead of, and then we decided on pipe because it just made the most sense. Like it was just perfect. Like it was a perfect material to work with. So we used PVC pipe as the skeleton, and then from there we just kind of went from there because, you know, Will's got a lot of piping experience, and then, you know, I've got pipe experience from from electrical work and stuff, and it was really interesting to just kind of see it come together. Like but we knew that we wanted to make it huge. We didn't want anyone to be taller than the watcher of the lot.
It has to tower.
You know? Yeah, it has to
That
tower
was the
over
rule.
everybody.
Had to be
Yeah.
a tallest.
Yeah, exactly. We wanted it to be an imposing figure. We wanted it to be, we wanted you to question whether it was malevolent or benevolent. But that was for you to
Did have
decide. It
Wilford
could be
Brimley
either.
head.
Yeah.
But we switched to VCR.
yeah, we were gonna put. Yeah, that's right. We wanted to put like a TV on the top and just have Wilford Brimley's face there. That was gonna be it. But yeah, we threw around a lot of ideas with that, and the idea of the head didn't. It was fun because like so many things were like we were like I don't know what to do, and then we just like tried an idea and it worked, and we we're like, okay, that's what we're doing. It was like
The masterful touch was the arms. The fact that it could embrace you.
Yeah.
It
That was something that I was very adamant about. I was
that
like,
was John's baby.
I was like, these arms have to move. If these arms don't move, what am I doing this for?
We
Like, for
understand.
some reason, that felt so important to me.
It was always fun showing up, and like I'd pull in and like go and walk back, and these guys would be like working on this thing, and there'd be like this glue all over their arms and like covered with stuff, sawing things and pipe pieces everywhere, and the scent of glue very strongly in the air. So I'm assuming that they were not entirely all there the entire time they were making this.
That's part of the process, though. It's part of the creative process, Dave.
Scent
You got to
of
get
glue
into
in
the
the air.
headspace. Yeah.
I feel like that's why we work good together, me, you, and Dave's, because usually, like, if I'm geeking out, John's like not calming me down, and vice versa. Usually when John's geeking
True.
out,
Yeah.
and
That's
Dave's
very
like
true.
always like pretty chill. So when
Yeah.
Dave's upset, then it's like, then it's not good.
Oh, Dave. The whole world.
That's like
We're
that's-
like, what am I gonna do? The anchor is gone. What the ship is going. We all just egg each other on, and we're just
it's
that's
perfect.
awesome. We're like,
I said, if
yeah.
we could have a camera on the lot crew, it would be a great little television show. For sure. Never-ending adventures, that's for sure.
Yeah, just shenanigans, just it's constant shenanigans. But
That's right.
But yeah, I don't know if this is even interesting to talk about Tape Man this long, but it was such an intensive process for us. Like we didn't really tell anybody, but like we really spent so much time on that, talking outside of work and stuff, and like building stuff outside of work. But I mean, most of the building actually happened like at the job, or like at the Mahoning. But it was just like, it was a lot. We put a lot into, like, a lot of
That's
thought
my
into it.
favorite stuff, when it becomes like a creative venture as well as the regular job. It's really an all for one effort. You guys literally took on reins that you didn't have to make an event that much cooler. And again, that's kind of what the Mahoning crew is all about. So no doubt.
It was fun because I was reaching out to Will and John and like texting, going, "Hey, what should we do for the back? We need to come up with something cool in the background too, like to make it kind of pop a little bit. What do you think we should do there?" And we were just tossing the ideas around. That was, really cool.
It was one of those things that from speaking for myself, I didn't know that I was like capable of that. And like, we just did it, it was like, it was really like, I was like, oh, okay. Cause like, I've only ever really built like functional things. I haven't built like, I'm like, oh man, I can apply this to art. Like what? Yeah. But
John, I've always known you were capable of it, John, and that's why I'm still considering that adoption.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. That would be you as my dad and Linnea Quigley as my mom.
Yes, that's what we put together as the plan.
Man, it would really be we would make a great family. I mean, imagine our Christmas card with Gage and Cowboy. Come on. I guess your daughters could, I guess your actual daughters could be in it too, but
they just bum out everything out. Yeah, it's just gonna be immediate family here.
New family.
I'll finish up with VHS Fest real quick because I got to give Dave credit, just because like Will and I put so much, like we were thinking so much about Tape Man itself and like how to articulate the arms, how to whatever the head. We didn't figure out the head until like I was like until that day. Like we had no idea. We're like, we'll get there when we get there. And then eventually we just ripped out the guts of a VCR and popped it on top. And it was like, we were like, I thought about it on like the way there. But then on the day, like, cause Dave kept pestering us. He was like, what are we going to do for the background? What are we going to do for the background? And we're like, whatever, Dave, get out of here. Like, well, the people will be happy with what we give them, you know, give them wood, who cares? And then on the day of, I roll up cause I was like the last one there, and like Dave's just stapling, you know, like this like these fantastic like sheets on to the, you know, these yellow and red sheets, or the yellow sheets, and then he made all these poster boards with all the boxes of the VHSs that we used, and then he pulls out this like just wonderful drop box that he made out of cardboard, and it was just like, it just felt so right. Like it was like, oh yeah, this is it right here. This is, you know, like it came together then, and it was like, it really was like a collective thing that I'm very proud of. You know, I'm very proud of what we produced, and I feel as if one of us was missing, it wouldn't have like gone as smoothly as it did, you know, because we work well together. So
100%. You know, I did that because I wanted to. You guys are my brothers, and man, we were put on a show, and it was about doing the best for you guys and doing the best for the Mahoning and for the customers. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, we wanted to do something that, what I thought was so cool about the whole thing is when I was looking at like social media and to see people taking selfies and posting them with something that you created is just like, that's cool. That's like so, and once again, you know, it goes back to, you know, it's like the people bring this energy to the Mahoning. They you know, they bring this energy, and honestly, one of the great things I love working there is feeding off of that energy, and it's like so great.
The looks on people's faces, and like, because it was really fun, because like throughout the day, and you know, any one of us will have gone to and from the other side of the lot like 100 times. So like when I'd walk past and I saw people like being timid and stuff, I'd like, you know, be like, get in there, and I'd like show them like, look at the arms, you know, like get under there. That is how you do it. And then they would like, you know, I would see the pictures later, like, you know, tagged and stuff, and you'd see them, and they'd like did their, you know, they were doing their own, they were like, once they got that rolling,
they embraced it.
they took it and ran with it. You know, people would just, it was great. It was really great. It was it was like, yes, this is what we did this for, you know?
Yeah. That's a beautiful thing. Well, it's clear you guys, you know, love the Mahoning, you love movies. Where does all that come from? And I'm curious, do you guys have drive-in experience before the Mahoning?
I got like drive-in. I grew up between Lancaster and Philadelphia, but most of the drive-ins closed when I was growing up. But I remember going to, I think the last time I went to the non-Mahoning drive-in, it was a drive-in out, I forget what it was called. It was right outside of Lancaster City, and it was to see, man, I am blank. It was Christian Bale, the first Batman.
Oh, Batman Begins. It's nice.
Begins. Yeah, it was that, and what was that? It was The Longest Yard, that Adam Sandler.
Driving double remake.
Yeah. So that was before I went to the Cannibal Holocaust show. That was the last time I'd gone to a drive-in. But
quite the difference, quite the shift.
Yeah. Well, that's what grabbed my attention. You know, drive-ins doing, you know, day at auto. It's like, holy cow!
What the hell?
Yeah, what is this?
Did you have? It's funny because we asked this of every guest, and nobody ever remembers the movies. It's more about the experiences that they had, kind of the feeling that they got of it. And it's funny that you're kind of in the same boat. You're like, look, I went, but don't ask me to remember.
Yeah, like I do remember like the first, like especially when I was younger. I don't remember when I was a kid what the first drive-in show, but I do remember being with my friends and it just being complete opposite of like a theater experience.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's like kind of one of the first times I didn't put it one and one together, but like realizing like different mediums of perceiving as art, you know what I mean? And like how different, you know what I mean? Like something can appear just from your environment, the change of it. So it was pretty cool. Just, like, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of being able to talk during a film per se, but like, when you're a kid, just like you get a little more freedom at the drive-in.
Oh yeah,
So,
that's why it appeals to a youth, is you can
it
really
makes it
get out of
accessible.
your skin. Yeah.
Right. So I guess that would be mine.
That's cool. What about you, John? Did you have the experience as a kid?
Yeah, totally. So I'm gonna start this by saying that I just texted my dad and asked him the name of it. I'm not gonna pretend like I remember the name of it. But yeah, when my family every year would go camping in Cape Cod, and I love traditions. Like I love doing stuff. I love doing something like, once a year, whatever, once a month. I like something that I can, look forward to, and especially if it's something I really enjoy. That's, probably why I love the drive-in so much. It's a weekly event. I wish I could make it like a, bi-weekly event and go to all the Tuesday shows, but unfortunately I'm not close enough. Maybe that will be remedied eventually, but we'll see. So we used to go to like the same restaurant every year. I would get a foot-long hot dog, which was like the craziest thing in the world to me. When I was a kid, I was like, this is amazing. This is the exact amount of hot dog I want. And it was on those like Cape Cod rolls. I forget what those are, that are like a bun, that are like cut down the middle. But it was like a foot-long version of that. It was so cool. Anyway, so after that, we would go to the drive-in every year, and it was called the Wellfleet Drive-In. So in case, I don't know if it's still open or.
John Demmer talks about going there. It is still open.
It is open.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So we'd go to the Wellfleet Drive-In, and it was just like, I remember it was always a double feature. It was like the only feature I remember, because I was so all over the place when I was a kid that but I remember it was like Sky High, that like
Yes.
that movie, with the teenagers,
The Kurt Russell gem.
Yeah. Kurt Russell. That was probably where my love affair with Kurt Russell started. But yeah, it was that, and then they were showing The Perfect Storm after that.
I love a drive-in double feature where it's just like, that works. Just jam them together.
Yeah. It's like we got one for the kids, we got one for the parents, we got all bases covered. But like I remember Mark saying this, where it was like the cartoons at the drive-in that he loved between the intermission. That was like the same thing for me. I was like, when that intermission came
always
up,
look forward. Yeah.
Oh, it was the best thing, just seeing the little popcorn and the soda and the candy just marching down. Like it was like, it's just like it instills this feeling that just like nothing else really gives you, because it's
feel good.
The whole atmosphere. I mean, you're outside, you got the smell of popcorn, like you're at a movie, you got that. And especially like the Wellfleet at the time, I don't know if they still have the speakers, but they had the speakers, so you had that.
They do still have the speakers.
Oh man, that's awesome. That's so great. It's so, I just because it's that sound. It's such a specific sound, that really tinny, just like, it's not like a bassy, boomy. Thing.
That's what I love about our lot too. Is whenever all the radios are going, it's like a little umbrella of sound. You could go anywhere and hear the movie.
Great acoustics. Yeah,
that's a hell of an upbringing at a beautiful drive-in for sure.
Yeah, it was awesome. We get penny candy, go to Arnold's. I don't know if that's still there. I remember the name of that because that hot dog really blew me away.
Too cool.
When I was young, we had a drive-in that was very close to us. It was Halifax, Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah.
And I would bug my dad to go there all the time, and he would take me, and it was awesome. It was like a bonding thing.
Yeah. To
go to the drive-in with dad, and I distinctly remember watching Superman, original Superman at the drive-in with my dad.
Rite of passage right there.
Dude, I mean, because that was the speakers, they had the speakers, the blaring, John Williams blaring out of the speaker. And, it was one of those drive-ins, you went to like the snack bar and it had it was almost like a cafeteria kind of snack bar where you went down with your tray and got the stuff you wanted. Always happy to get like my cheeseburger in like that tinfoily wrap thing. Oh man, those are great memories. So that was growing up. And this meant a lot to me is when my kids were growing up here in Harrisburg. We have access, in Dillsburg, there's Harris Drive-In.
Right. Ours. Yeah.
So I started taking my daughters there and introducing them to, what the drive-in was like. And, you would go in and fill the back seat. I had like a pile, you could put the seat down. So we'd put the seat down and get some pillows back there and snacks. And, so not only did I get to experience the joy of the drive-in growing up at one and going to one and that being a bonding experience with my father, but I got to pass that along to my daughters as they grew up. So for me, that was a special bonding kind of experience for me as well.
Yeah, I think that's what it boils down to for me is obviously the experience, the feel of it all, but it's that bond. You can go out with your family and do what's really presented as an insanely simplistic night out, but it's the things that burrow so deep into your brain and your memory. It's that my dad used to always do I'm going to take you guys to a sporting event or to a concert, and they were few and far between, but the drive-in, was one of those things that was super accessible and an easy way to kind of really wow and entertain the kids.
Well, and for me, like when you're a kid, you do a lot in the summer. I did a lot those summers, but what I remember the most, and what I really hold close was like going to Cape Cod, getting a campground and making a whole night of going to the drive-in,
Right.
And it was just like, I'll hold that feeling forever.
Yeah, it's such a summer thing. You're running around during the day and you're doing the whole, but at night it'd be like, hey, let's go to a movie, and you load everybody in the car and you go, and it's like weather's cool, you're sitting there watching the movie.
Yeah, and certain things just draw nostalgia out of you, and I think the drive-in is like right at the top of that list. I get the same sensation whenever I go to an ice cream truck, even as an adult, and whenever an ice cream truck goes by or whatever, it just reminds me of this like freedom that you had during the summer as a kid, no school and all that stuff,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, let's get into your guys' love for movies. I know you guys love movies, obviously.
No, I started
Not
the
quite a
drive-in, just that was all me. Like I just wanted it I needed something to do.
I had never seen one before I went, so I felt this was
the weirdest thing. First time on a drive-in lot and first time seeing a movie.
yeah, it
the
was
weirdest.
Yeah.
I'm a newbie.
I just kind of stumbled on it,
Well, let's talk about where your fandom lies. I mean, obviously the Mahoning's known to be kind of the grindhouse horror drive-in, but we try to tap every genre. But where do you guys fall? And I find a lot of times the answer to this question goes back to the upbringing as well, where what were you allowed to be exposed to or not?
Oh yeah,
that
that's
led
true.
you.
You mean like what are my influences?
Like kind of what's your taste in movies? Like what was that turning point or experience where it was like, yep, this is my bag, and kind of made that shift? For me, I always point to the Kevin Smith movies to kind of expanding my love of film, as well as kind of pointing me behind the camera to see like how movies are made, and I started looking at it with a different eye. But certainly my taste has shifted to horror, certainly more horror since running the drive-in. It's like you get a heavy dose of it, whether you want to or not here.
Yeah. All right.
And we want it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess honestly, when I was like younger and saw Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween, that kind of made me, I don't know, like it was definitely a lot different. than a lot of, the films I'd seen at that point,
Oh yeah.
especially in horror. Well, because I grew up, I'm 32, just turned 32. So the 2000s, which especially at the time, a lot of people ragged on the early 2000s, you know what I mean? Like coming up with the horror films.
Yeah.
And now I feel like it's become cool to be like, oh, nah, those films, but I'm still in the camp. Like there wasn't a lot of great stuff in the horror at the time. So yeah, so that's what I mean. Like a lot of your peers were seeing like those films, like the Final Destination. I don't want to. I don't like talking down on but people are into it there. So I saw like Halloween for the first time. I'm like, oh, whoa. This is, pretty, pretty different. And then, cause I've always been trying to pursue, I guess, art in a way between music and film. So that's what made me think that it is possible to, I always grew up trying to be play music was my, what I wanted to do. Seeing that in high school made me think, well, maybe you can kind of do both. And then that kind of led me to Gummo, Harmony Korine stuff, coming up that really made me be like, all right,
this is doable.
Yeah, it's like discovering Nietzsche. You're just like, all right, the whole world's open. At that age, when you're an adolescent, these things are perfect,
The fire in your belly is ready to be lit.
Yeah. But mainly I've always stuck with horror.
Horror alternative stuff.
Yeah, my favorite director, I guess, is Tarkovsky. I'm just a huge fan of Russian stuff, and Dostoevsky is my favorite writer, and I guess that's more my taste and what these people have shown. I don't know, have a lot to say, and
I can totally relate in the fact that it inspires you. The horror genre is a perfect one to point to in the. You can go out there and do it yourself. You can have the wackiest idea ever and go out there and get something done, And for somebody who's dreaming big, that taps something.
Yeah. Especially what's so cool is in the 80s specifically, man, studios, legit studios were making these films, horror films, and it's bizarre. These films have legit butt. The Thing had a decent budget, look at it now. There's no budgets, for independent filmmaking. It's just, so when I started discovering, the societies and these just, not really
wacky,
films,
right?
Yeah. They make you think different, about things sometimes when you're,
Oh yeah, and when you're in a creative head, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And I'll say, Will, one of the first conversations we had, you and I, after I recovered from the garbage.
Water fiasco.
One of the first conversations we ever had was we got into this in-depth hour-long conversation about Italian giallo films.
Oh yeah.
And before I had gone to the drive-in, if I would have tried to get into a conversation with someone about Italian giallo, they'd be like, I know, it's delicious. Isn't it great? But so it was so liberating when I went to the Mahoning and I started talking to you about, I think we were Bay of Blood, and
which I saw at the Mahoning years ago. Yeah.
And then we were talking about Tenebra, and it's we were suddenly we were bonding because it's this. It was holy crap! I can talk to somebody about this Italian giallo, and I'm not the weird dude.
Yeah, that's what's great. Mahoning delivers that.
Yes, it does.
Well, what about you, John? Where do your tastes lie?
So there's two movies specifically that really stuck with me that I would watch, all the time. One of them is Young Frankenstein.
Love it.
That movie shaped what I thought was funny. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I'm not even. I could go off for a long time about that. But at first I thought, first few times I saw it, I was like, is this what because it's that black and white, so it feels serious, and the way it kind of presents itself is no one's laughing you know. And
They're
so
playing it as serious as possible.
yeah, and it's perfect. Like, I mean, it's perfect. I used to fall asleep to it every night, you know, like I would just put it on in my little portable DVD player, and I'd get to you know, where Gene Wilder is at like the turnstile with his wife, and it's just, they're like, you know, sorry, fiance, he's getting sent off and everything, and that's like right when I would start to drift off to sleep after the whole, you know, scalpel in the bag, you know, pinch of the brain, everything.
Oh, it's perfect.
Yeah.
I have that memory with Spaceballs and
Yeah.
Robin Hood Men in Tights. He definitely,
Yes.
he is somebody who shapes your humor. If you find someone who likes that, it's like, yeah, that's my guy.
It's interesting with Mel Brooks. My father is not a man who watches a movie more than once. Like he has, my dad has an attitude with movies. Now there's a couple exceptions to this rule, but like he just is like, he sees a movie and he's like, okay, well, why would I watch it again? I've seen it. So he's not a guy who sees movies more than once. But the one movie he will watch over and over and over and over again is Blazing Saddles. And he will sit there and laugh
and crack up. Yeah.
Every time. I mean, the campfire scene, this is
my dad too, yeah.
He's the most straight-laced business guy. He's like a vice president of sales. But you put that campfire scene on there, and he is laughing till tears are rolling down.
I mean, it's gold. It's solid gold. That's, I mean, you know.
And that's a perfect blend, too, of horror and comedy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because, like, I mean, as a kid, I think I was 16 when I watched my first horror movie all the way through, which gave me nightmares for like 2 weeks. The first horror movie I sat through all the way was Insidious.
Oh, shit. That'll do it.
Like my specific fears, like I always had trouble falling asleep as a child. So like that movie like
played to you,
eviscerated me. Like it completely destroyed me. Like going to sleep after that was just non-existent, you know, like I was a mess, like, but that feeling sticks with you. You're like, well, you know, like my life kind of feels like that, you know, whatever, and you like relate to it, and you know, black metal ghost man like was cool, and like, you know, and of course Darth Maul ghost man and Tiny Tim. It was just like, it was just the feeling of it was just
send you down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, you're like, what am I, like I'm feeling, you know, like all of it's weird. It was that same kind of feeling. I mean, it's the Tiny Tim is so unsettling. Now I'm just talking about Insidious. Anyway, so it was my favorite movie. Like, my favorite movies growing up were Young Frankenstein and the other is Strange Brew. I love that movie so much.
Gold.
Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas are just like, and Mark von Sydow is just his voice. I just want him to like read all, you know, just everything that I read. I just want to listen to audiobook on him. Like and
that would
probably
be a great Sunday show.
Oh my gosh, I would. I would die. Like I'd have to like clock out and just like go.
Like, this is my night, guys.
Nobody bother me. You know, like this is it. And then that, you know, evolved into like, you know, Flash Gordon and stuff, and probably because of Mark, you know, again, Mark von Sydow. But those are the two that really, like, I watch Strange Brew every time I'm sick. You know, it's one of those that it's just
makes you feel better.
Yeah,
I get it. Comfort food.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I could watch it 100 times. You know, I who knows how many times I've watched it. Same with Young Frankenstein.
Yeah. Well, Dave, I'm curious to hear where you're going, because I look at you as somebody who has a very open and eclectic taste, and seems like you know, you'd be willing, at least currently, to go and see mostly anything in the theater.
I go see pretty much anything that just grabs my interest.
Yeah, me and Mark are right there too.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Mark. I just went to see the new A24 movie today, X, which was absolutely fascinating. And then, but I also want to go see The Outfit, which came out this weekend. So, I mean, totally different genres, but hey, they both seem interesting to me. So, when I was young, that was back in like the late 70s, early 80s when like movies like Jaws were coming out.
Yeah, the blockbuster, the birth of the blockbuster.
Oh man, and the funny thing is, I literally grew up in a movie theater because we had one movie theater in our town, and my grandmother sold tickets there.
Oh
So
man, perfect.
it was one of those old school theaters too, where they had like the glass booth outside, and
I'm sorry. Every time Dave goes on about like his movie, I'm always so jealous because it's like
it's storybook. It's like something that would open a movie.
Exactly. Yeah, like I don't want to ruin any of it, but like I've heard all this stuff, and I'm just always like, oh man, that's so wow, like you really,
dude's Tom Sawyer.
You really got it. Yeah.
It was great because I would like they would buy their tickets and I would stand inside the door and they would hand me their tickets and I would tear them in half and put the half of the stub in the big wooden bin, and I felt like I was working at the theater. I mean, I was literally probably 8 or 9. These people probably could have gone to prison. But so I would take the tickets, then a second, as soon as the movie would start, I would run in and watch the movie. And as soon as the movie was over, I'd come out and take tickets for the second show. And I'd watch maybe the first half of the movie again until my grandmother closed the place down. You have no idea how many times I watched Jaws. I mean, it was probably only topped by the fact that Star Wars came out the next year.
God, yeah, and had a nice long run.
Oh, it was a single screen theater, and if they got a really popular movie, they would hold it over, it was a small town. I mean, they kept Star Wars, I think, for 2 months solid, and I think I saw it every night for 2 months solid. There might have been some molding of my mind at this prospect, but one of the funny things I always tell John about this theater, and I don't want to get into a weird digression here, but it was a unique.
Get into it, Dave.
It was a unique design for the theater where the screen was on the wall where you walked in. So you walked in basically kind of underneath.
Weird.
Yeah.
And then walked up the row. So when you walked in, everybody's like staring at you as you walk in.
He's here.
Like right there is the screen. And you're like, so you never snuck into that theater. Or if you wanted to know if somebody was trying to sneak into that theater without telling you they were going, you got there early and you watched to see if that they were sneaking. Like, I'm like, you liar. You said you weren't coming tonight. But the floor was like like painted concrete floor, and the seats were old school theater seats, which were metal.
Yeah.
So what the kids used to do, just to really piss off the staff who worked there, is we would get everlasting gobstoppers and go to the last row and drop them.
And just send it.
And it sounded like a Plinko machine the entire way down. Like ding, 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 ding. And it didn't stop until it got to the very bottom of the theater.
Magic.
So you would launch a couple of those, and then Ada, who worked there, who was like about, I think, 3'9". I mean, she was like a troll of a woman. She would come in and she would just give everybody hell. And it'd be like, you guys knock it off, or I will have them stop the movie until you stop. and then she would leave, and then you'd wait maybe 10 minutes and then send another gobstopper down. So, those are kind of theater memories that I had. But then from there, I moved on and got a job in a mom and pop video store. And this was back in the 80s, when the video boom. And the best video stores to work at were the mom and pops because they got everything. Like there was no corporate scrubbing of what videos they got. It was like, oh, I'll get that one. Oh, what, I spit on your grave? Sure, I don't know what that is, but we'll get it and put it in the shelf. And it's like, yes.
This is so telling.
Yeah,
You know?
it's like, you're watching
love
the
for
story.
movies.
You're watching it unfold to the day that he's dragging.
He's been training to take tickets since he was 8.
Yeah, exactly.
This is my dream
dragging
job, man.
garbage cans full of water across the lot.
I would have drugged 5 of those garbage cans across just for the opportunity.
And after working with you, Dave, this past year, I know you could do it. You know, like I don't doubt that for a second.
That could.
That tenacity is what drove us. Like sometimes, like we were like falling apart, and Dave would just come in and say something that would just like. It's just something that just like it's so simple, but it would just like, it would just completely change your whole outlook and like just make you laugh. Like, I mean, like half the, like when Dave's speaking right now, like half the time I'm muted because I'm just laughing so hard. Like I can't, like I don't want to drown him out. So I have to like, I have to try to manage it.
The love is real. I love it.
It's gotten so bad that like Virgil, you've actually had to like call over the radio tell us to be quiet. Tell us to be quiet, but really it's me just laughing so loud.
You guys have a good time over there. It's a beautiful.
Oh my gosh.
One of the most fun things, is during the off season I had, like Will and John over like a couple weeks ago, just for a movie night, and it was like the best night sitting at the lot. I mean, the only thing I should have had my daughters call in for like headlights, like a couple of and just headlights, but it's honestly, I love the Mahoning, and one of the things that makes my love for that place just so sincere is that it has given me the ability to meet 2 of the best friends I've ever met and made in my life. I mean, honestly, it's fun. At my age, and I will, as Dungaree Daddy, I will
Yes.
I am 52. You get to that age where it's like you don't make a lot of new friends. You kind of have your circle of friends.
Yeah.
And I've gone there and I've felt like I've been just welcomed into this family, and I consider you guys, the closest people. Yeah, and then amongst them, Will and John are just like brothers to me. It's such a magical thing that I've gotten this opportunity to have that at this point in my life.
I love it. We feel so lucky,
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. And I'm 26, so I mean, like I don't know where like Dave and I would have ever met.
Connected, right? Yeah.
And he's so intimidating when you look at him. Like you look at him and you're just like, oh my gosh. Like, this,
I am the least intimidating human being on the face of the planet.
Yeah. I mean, you're looking at this man, you're like, man, you're like, this is a worldly man.
Oh yeah, that's what you look at. Yeah, it's the dungarees.
Absolutely, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna go back to the jeans. Like it's the dungarees with the what was it, the Nike Monarchs.
Well, the Monarchs died after
they did, but they
killed the Monarchs.
The Joe Bob did kill the Monarchs.
He killed the Monarchs. I had to put him down after that. We moved on to EV.
Yeah, you look at Dave and he's such a worldly man, but then you talk to him and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't even keep up with you. Because like I was saying that first weekend I didn't really get to know him that well because I wasn't actually working that weekend. But then like the weeks after that, I got to know Dave pretty well, and Will and I spent every second together while we were like at the drive-in. So like we got to know each other really well, really quickly. Like it was just immediate. Like we were basically like living, we were living next to each other essentially the whole season. And then like we were, like it was Virgil and Nancy and Virgie, and like we were all just a little, like we were all like neighbors,
Little clique.
Yeah. And
That's what's great about when the season's kicking is like you guys essentially have to live on the lot when you're working, is you guys carry over your lot duties throughout the whole entire night. And it becomes very communal.
The joy of crawling out of your car first thing in the morning, and it's like, oh, okay, this is after you went to bed at 4 a.m. and it's like,
back at it.
Let's do this,
Well, that's John giving you grief just for brushing your teeth, or it's
and then rinsing.
We're roughing it, bro.
Rinsing with light Arnold Palmer that has been sitting the entire night. So any like zestiness, and this was after I was telling a story. I didn't want to tell the whole story earlier. It was after Will had witnessed Dave drink night old Moxie that was sitting on the hood of his car.
Never good.
So walking up and seeing Dave after brushing his teeth to pristine perfection, well, seeing him rinse it with that was just. I was again in awe. I'm always in awe of you, Dave.
I will admit that the lemonade and the Arnold Palmer did clash with the mint and the toothpaste pretty bad.
I'd say so. Yeah.
That was not a flavor that came out of my mouth really quick. That lasted.
Did you have to brush your teeth again after that, Dave?
Oh, I did. No, because I used all the Arnold Palmer the first time.
Oh, that's right. So how would you have rinced your mouth out? Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. That's a really good point.
I might have had a Moxie in my car.
But you don't want to crack a fresh Moxie to rinse your teeth out after you're done brushing. And that was probably a sugar Moxie. You hadn't switched over to the diet Moxies yet.
That's true. Had to come down off the sugar because
I think as the audience can tell, you guys are a tight knit group with a ton of inside jokes. But that leads to a fun kind of breakdown. Like the experience at the Mahoning goes, well beyond the movies. Do you guys have something, whether it's like the concession stand, certain foods, something like that just like that's your bag?
Yeah, Will, you go. We all know what you like, Will.
Will's order is chicken strips and fries, but not
French fries. But you don't need to have the French fries. It could just be chicken strips. He could, French fries are really good. Like
Yeah, not the really skinny fries. He wants the thicker fries.
Yeah, and he wants them well done.
Yes. Did we get it right, Will?
With barbecue sauce.
Spot on.
With barbecue sauce. And then a Snickers for dessert.
We'll go around the horn. What's John getting when he's coming in to fill that?
Now John's getting the
about
anything. He'll get the pizza rolls if they have pizza rolls. If they have
when they started serving pizza rolls, that ripped my mind open. That was just incredible. I was like, fried pizza rolls? Are you kidding me?
What about Dave? What are you guys getting Dave while he's out at the gate? You have to make the run in.
Dave always gets chicken tenders, and another thing that I'm in awe of is that he doesn't dip him in anything, which
straight up.
Yeah, it's wild. I always ask, do you want sauce? And then he's, because when we go to the snack stand, everybody, we will try to come back with, we'll ask like, hey, do you need food? And then we'll come back with food. That's why we know each other's. That's why we know each other's orders so well. Dave always, when he goes, he likes to grab a burger and then he likes to put it in his pocket for later.
Nice, a pocket burger. It's like a pocket warmer.
Yep. That's exactly what he says.
We have coined the phrase for it. It's a pocket burger.
It's a pocket burger. Yep.
Listen, there's nothing more perfect about the drive-in. Is you're sitting there. It's a beautiful night. The stars are out. The shooting stars are going. The movie's playing. You got your blankets on you, and you just reach into your pocket and
surprise.
Yeah, pull out a lukewarm burger with no sauce on it. Yeah.
The burger, it's right there.
It's always there to greet you with a handshake and a how you doing,
It's really been difficult in the off season because, I'm sitting here watching TV and it's like, I'm getting
something's missing.
Davis texted us so many times being like, man, I just reached into my pocket and I felt nothing.
Came up empty.
Shocking.
Well, I can't tell you guys how much we appreciate you and everything that you do for the Mahoning and beyond. And it really is. It's worth saying that you guys are the first face that people see when they come to the Mahoning. And that takes a certain type of personality to really get into that role. And I've heard it many times over the bushes of you guys just being so excited to welcome people. And I think that goes such a long way.
I'm as excited to see them as they are. I think it's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, same.
Okay, now give me some lot stories.
Yeah. I was gonna say I feel like we haven't even gotten to the.
No, wait.
goods.
Okay.
We just have to,
let's hear
up,
the.
I'm not recording. The mics are off. Wink. Tell me some lot stories. Now that we're just talking amongst chums.
I like when Virgil got the new scooter. And
Here's a fun one for you, kid.
no, the reason I can go to it was because
I know.
we went to get
Will's the old
right?
Will has unlimited access to being able to berate me about this. He definitely earned it. Without a doubt.
We're on our way back and getting bagels, and John's like, we're talking about getting a scooter, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, dude, there's a lot of gravel on the lot. There's one thing about two-wheel vehicles, you gotta watch with the gravel, you know. And John's
important.
Oh, you and Alex, because Alex is another dude.
Well, because he just said it
Philadelphia
he said it so many times. He was like, man, we just really got to be careful, which, an intelligent person who trusts their friend would be like, oh man, maybe I should, heed a warning or something.
He's like, you and Alex are always looking for things to go wrong.
Philadelphians.
We get back, and then the scooter's getting dropped off, and the people there drop it off, and Virgil takes it for to ride around, and it goes just swimmingly. Virgil does a nice little loop, comes back, and then he's like, hey, you guys want to take it for a spin? And John's like, yeah, I will. And John's wearing
no hesitation at all. He was all over.
No.
Oh, dude, I was salivating over this thing all morning. I was so excited about it. So excited about it.
And
this is okay. Let's also say that this is the weekend after Joe Bob too, so it's it's Christmas.
We were
in
all
July.
a little out of it.
We were
Yeah,
insane. I remember going home and I sat down to do a puzzle that I bought, and I was like, what am I doing? I was like, what's happening right now?
My brain doesn't work.
Yeah. I'm doing a puzzle after working 80 hours in 5 days. What?
John gets on it, and he's wearing flip-flops, and just
I'm wearing sandals. Okay, I'm not that stupid. I wouldn't wear flip-flops on a scooter. You got to make sure they're strapped to your feet. All right. Yeah. Okay. Will.
He's wearing sandals.
Don't make me out to be an idiot. All right.
Oh, sorry.
I can do that myself.
Well.
He goes tearing off, and this is right as the lady's like, yeah, I'm so glad I'm selling to you guys, because I know there's a lot of love here, and I love this thing. And he just goes ripping towards the back of the lot, and I see it. The brakes just lock up on him. He just gets a death wobble. And he goes sliding out onto the ground, this big cloud. The lady's on the bike's just all right, I think I have to go right now.
She said it's time to go.
This was the first time I had ever.
We were all really worried. He was really hurt, but I guess he kind of was really hurt.
Yeah, you screwed up your toe pretty good.
Yeah, because he's wearing sandals. He his feet all up and his knees all up.
Where did your toe go? Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was a great one.
You know me with my everlasting wisdom of never being on a two-wheeled vehicle before. That was the first time. not listening to somebody who has a lot of experience with two-wheeled vehicles.
Yeah,
like, no,
I'll
no,
see you guys
trust
later.
me. Yeah, going like, ripping. I was going like 25, which
It
is
was great. It was. I mean, like we were
like
all concerned for you, but looking back on it,
it was. I felt glorious up until the moment, and it was funny. Like, you can feel it, but like the throttle stuck and the brakes locked, and I was like, well, I don't know what to do.
I'm gonna just dump this fucker over.
I was wearing a sleeveless shirt, shorts, and sandals. Like, it was the worst possible. Like, if I was naked, that would have been the only way I would have gotten more damage. You know what I mean? Like, it was bad.
I wasn't there when he went down. I come back and I'm like, where's John? And they're like, oh, he's in the back of the snack, in the back of the snack.
Yeah.
We're trying to clean him up. And I'm like,
Zoe is like nursing me. She's like helping me with the bandages in the back.
Paper towels everywhere. Yeah. I'm like, what the? I'm like, was there a murder or what?
Yeah, I won't go into the nitty gritty about what happened to my foot, but I've got a pretty good scar after that.
Well done.
Well, John tried saying like using soap's as good as alcohol, and I was like, nah, dude. Like, you have to use rubbing alcohol. It's gonna suck, but like.
Yeah, well, I said it was dish soap. It was dish soap. Yeah, I was washing out dish soap.
Dish soap.
It's not the same as rubbing.
It's fine. It's good. It's antibacterial.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, why don't we just rub some sand in it too? Hey,
it's good for you, huh? Come on. Yeah, and then I was like, I'm staying, and then they were like, no. They were like, no, you're not.
They ordered you home.
Yeah, they're like, you can't put your shoe on. Like, what are you talking about?
He was sitting out by the booth, and it's like his leg is extended because he can't bend his leg because there's bandages all the way up his leg.
Looking back, of course, because I couldn't think because it was after Joe Bob. That's what you want to see when you roll up to the drive-in is just a man just sprawled out on a chair,
welcome,
covered in blood, like actual blood.
Definitely was not the right theme weekend for it. So
no, it was. It was Christmas. It was Christmas in July. Yeah, it was right. Oh,
our edition. Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he's like bleeding through the bandages, and we're like, John. He's like, no, I'm fine. I just took. You have any Advil? If you have any Advil, I'll be fine. It's like, John, no.
Yeah, I get home in the next day and I like can't move my toe, and I'm like, oh man, yeah, I'm glad I didn't like wake up there because that would have been rough.
Wake up to this, yeah.
You would have been like sleeping in your tent on the ground overnight. So I'm sure that would have been great for that situation too.
For a heal up, yeah. Well, any other choice stories pop for you guys?
Yeah, Dave's got a good one. I mean, we have some that we'll tell you when we're not recording.
Right, that you guys share, I'd say.
Some that are like, what? And then Dave's got a good one.
As everybody knows, the drive-in entrance is just the entrance. The exit is on the opposite side, which we do remind everybody as they come in.
Every single person.
That's not always remembered.
Yes, that's true.
Anyone who's been there will also know that when you pull in, I don't know who arranged it.
It's a lot. You get a lot of information. You get a lot of information when you pull in. I don't blame people for being a little like, huh? Yeah. We try to tell you everything, so it's as smooth a process as possible. But sometimes, it goes the other way.
But also, as you pull in, you'll notice that we have a set of bowling pins and a bowling ball sitting there. I'm not sure where that originated from, but it's there. So the one evening, John and Will were off chasing headlights, I think. I'm not sure where they were. But I was watching.
We were bringing the till in. That's
there
important.
You go.
I'm sorry. I'm like killing the momentum, but I was so upset.
No, not at all. So we were sitting there. I was sitting there watching the gate, and somebody starts coming up the entrance. And I kind of stood up and said, nope, sorry, the exit's on the opposite side. Probably in hindsight, the smarter thing to do would have just been to let her go. But I was trying to follow all the rules at that point. So I'm like, no, the others. There was a young girl driving a very big car, so I'm not assuming it was her. She freaks out when I said, no, you can't go out this way. So she backed into the employee parking area and drove forward across the divide, directly over the bowling pins and the bowling ball. So I'm like standing there horrified because I don't know exactly. I'm like, no, stop. And she's just like, ka-dunk, 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 ka-dunk. And the bowling pins are going flying out the side. And I thought she was going to stop so I could help clear out the bowling pins and assess the damage. But at that point, I think she was either freaked out or just committed. And she hit the gas. And so now the bowling pins are all going flying, but the bowling ball is nowhere to be seen until I hear her driving down the front aisle, and the bowling ball is bouncing underneath the chassis of her car. So I'm standing there, and now I'm like, it's like I hear doink, 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 doink as it's driving down. And I thought, oh shit, she's gonna have to stop, and I'm gonna have to pry this bowling ball out from underneath the car. I don't know the protocol for this. But at that point, fortunately, the ball was ejected from the underside of her car, like it was like spitting out a peach pit. It was like,
like halfway up the front row, right?
Halfway up the front row, it's ejected,
which is a good distance for people who have been there.
He just keeps going, and I thought, well, go with God. And I just slowly walked up the front row to retrieve the bowling ball. And as I get back, and I have this look of like shock on my face. And Will and John were like, what happened? And I'm like, yeah, I don't even have.
You'll never believe it.
I mean, no, you couldn't speak, Dave. You were laughing so hard. Like we walked up and like, because so when these things happen, because these things happen quite often, and it's almost always when people try to leave through the entrance. Just shenanigans happens because you're backing up into darkness, but it's empty, so you don't really have to worry, but people, get worried, understandably. So we try to be nice and professional, but unfortunately, when the event is over, because we're human, we laugh, and it was just like, these things are just, it's one of those gems of work.
You couldn't write that story. It's perfect.
No. Oh, it's great. And some say that you can still see the markings on the bowling ball.
I just feel bad because I'm like 75% sure that was probably like her dad's car. And I just
poor dad. Yeah. What did you do last night?
Sweet merciful crap, my car.
As a father myself, I just picture this poor guy waking up the next morning, loading in and to go to church, and he's driving down the street, and all he can hear is whatever place is coming from the bottom of his car from when it
catalytic converters just hanging out.
As he's driving down, like, what the hell happened to the car last night?
I love our patrons so much. And the things that, and those things are like relatable, because I'm not confrontational, and I can be less effective when I'm anxious. So I get it. It's a little intense, especially if you've never been to a drive-in at all. Like it's because you're like, once you cross those gates, you're in like a new world, So it can be a little intimidating. We try to soften that blow as much as possible at the front gate.
Like Thunderdome.
Yeah, welcome.
Anything else stand out with the crazy? I mean, I know you guys literally have the book going. So,
we have volunteers that come all the time, and they're wonderful people. Because like Dave didn't mention this, but he started as a volunteer, and then we coerced him into becoming an actual employee.
He said it was the next step on my career path. So I was like, absolutely.
He got promoted from volunteer all the way to trainee. And, and when the season starts after a few months, we might have a talk and evaluate his progress. But, between you and me, audience, it doesn't look good. But
I have a whole PowerPoint prepared for my annual review, so I'm ready for it.
Good. So it was great. So we have the volunteers come. Some of the volunteers are just like diehard fans that just come to watch movies every weekend, and they're like everyone else, like, well, I might as well like chip in,
lend a hand.
like it's not like we are employees, but like there is a network of people who, you know, people who help out all the time, constantly. And then we have people who aren't even volunteers and just like pick up trash because they love the place and they, you know, they know it's their home as much as it is ours. And like we all get to share the experience of keeping this place together and alive. And without us, without all of us, it doesn't exist.
Don't get that at the indoor theater. That's for sure.
No, you don't. So we have a few volunteers that come all the time, and one of them, he's really great. Another Dave, he'll hang out at the front gate with us, and he'll bring like Planet of the Apes weekend. He had his 8 mask and stuff, and he was just he just gets into
bring props and like if we have weekend like giveaways like on the Sardonicus weekend with the up down thumb thing. He loves to kind of give those to the people as they come in.
He'll like give them the cards and do his thing while we're like handling other people, and it's perfect. But he has a blast with it, and he's great, and it's so much fun. And so after a wonderfully successful night of getting really into it and having a good time with all and getting a really good reaction from people, this family in a pickup truck
car pulls up.
Yeah, and like there's the parents are in the front and then the kids are in the back. It's dark, you can't see in the back, and he had this whole spiel of like, you know, because the Tingler, for those who haven't seen it and for those who have, has that you're gonna die from fright.
Scream so you don't die from fright. So if you see the Tingler, scream.
No, he was handing out the insurance cards.
Yeah, so he had insurance cards because we were saying you get $1,000 insurance in the event of death by fright from the Tingler. So Dave reaches in to hand the card to them, and you know this is like he is going to sit down after this, so he decides to lay it on real thick. He's like, you will die, you know, like he's saying like you will die tonight if you see the Tingler, and here's your insurance card.
Your insurance. You die.
And he's like, and he has his hood up, and he's like in there, and then the look on the lady's face was you can tell when somebody is really responding to it, like they're really into it, you can tell immediately, but she was stone cold. Like there was no reaction.
Where are we, honey? What is this?
Exactly. And then she's like eyeing towards the back, and I like look behind there, and we just see like 3 kids sitting there, and they look terrified. Like, they look so scared. Like they thought they were coming to see some fun, you know, schlocky 50s like Vincent Price movies. Yeah, exactly. They were. And here they are. And like Dave is like a tall man, you know, like he's a tall man. He's a tough guy. Like he was, you know, he's a punk and everything. So he's got like, he knows how to like carry himself. So he does it really well. And he laid it on so thick, and they rolled off just looking mortified. And he was like, he was like, I think I just traumatized. Yeah, he didn't realize until they were like, until she was just not having it at all.
Yeah, that's what he said. He looked in the back, and he's like, oh, man.
Oh, man. And there were like 3 young kids. So he like
I'm
really.
So sorry.
Yeah, and they were like locals too, that this was like the first time they had been there since they were like
perfect
teenagers. You know what I mean? And they were like,
welcome
what,
to
you
the
know?
pub.
Yeah, welcome. Yeah. And he just, after that, he was like, oh my gosh, I think I traumatized those kids. You know? Like, I can't believe
They'll never forget it.
That's true. That's true.
These kids needed something to talk about in therapy someday, and
exactly.
And Dave Wright was there to feed them.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just another service we provide.
That's right, baby.
Yeah, I realized I kind of like half ruined that story by saying that there was kids, that it was a family. Like,
you guys remember was it Jodorowsky night or was it John Waters night?
No, Jodorowsky, that couple drove up and
yes,
yeah, that's right.
We're at the booth. And couple drives in. It's a drive up. They didn't pre-buy tickets. They just said, Oh, a drive-in. That
It was
should
like
be-
it was like an older couple. Like they were like
yeah,
much
it was
older.
like this.
Yeah.
It was like
It's like
this
date
older
night
couple.
for
Yeah.
Yeah, and so they pulled up and they're like, and we're like, how much is it for the movie? And we're like, oh, they're drive up there, and we give them the price, and they're like, oh, okay, well, what's playing? And we're like, you don't know what's playing? No, what's playing? And
They're like 2 movies. Oh, cool.
2 movies. That's great. And it's like, and we're like,
we were
do you
also
know-
so swamped. There's a huge line behind them, and we were like, I was like, yeah, we don't have time to explain Jodorowsky to them. Like, you know,
Good luck.
we prefaced it. They're pretty extreme films, you know what I mean? So they weren't like, you know, going in blind. But I was like, yeah, they're just like pretty. And they're like, oh, that sounds fun.
Well, this is great. This is a night of the drive.
I mean, hey, who knows? They could have been the most like down couple ever. Like they could have stayed the whole night. Yeah.
Yeah, they just took off, and we're like, oh, we're gonna see them leaving pretty soon.
Although we did see a car leave immediately that night when the movie started. Like we did see
You think about
we did see a
30
car
minutes
about
into
like
Joe.
I was like 20-30 minutes in, just like leave like right away. So
Listen, I give them credit if that was them for holding.
yeah, if that was them and they stayed that long, you know, all power to you.
But yeah, Jodorowsky Weekend was a
That was a good
real
one.
I had never seen any of his films before, so I went into that like as a complete
Yeah, me
novice.
too. That was an experience.
Let me tell you something. From our vantage point at the booth, which is
It's very unique.
but it's also really large when the entire Mahoning screen is filled with a butt. I mean, when it's like when you look up and that is just like nothing but butt, there's nowhere to look around it. You just
Here
got to
we go.
grin and bear
This
and
is
just deal with it. This is it. We're just gonna have to make it through this scene because there's nowhere to really turn. So that was a weekend. That was a weekend.
The amount and like just the amount of stuff we see and hear and just like it's really it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's all about the experiences, you know. I said it. That's what's great about this job, if I guess we can call it that. It's not like anything else. You never know what you're getting when you pull in on the lot. That's for sure. Before we let you guys go, what's your standout as far as your favorite event that you worked over the last?
Man, I could talk to you guys all night about like just reminiscing about last year. This is so much fun. Yeah, this is really great.
It's hard to pin one down. I mean,
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean,
Good
Zombie
point.
Fest was my first night, weekend there. So that one, it's like you'll never forget your first. Joe Bob, we're not allowed to say that that's our favorite because just everybody.
Yeah,
that. If you acknowledge that was your favorite, then people start to question your mental stability.
Yeah, then we should all chip in for your therapy because that's like you're damaged.
But I think my favorite was the Weekend with Texas Chainsaw. Weekend of Terrors
Yeah.
was so special for me because Thursday night we had Michael Berryman there, and I got to actually be Michael's handler for the evening. It was so
Yes.
I mean,
And was it his birthday or your birthday?
it was my birthday.
Yeah.
And
Come on.
Yeah.
I can't tell you a better birthday gift than spending 2 hours just talking to Michael Berryman. And then you guys are the best family in the world because you brought a cake out, and I've never felt like that embraced by a community before.
Did you ever think Michael Berryman would be singing Happy Birthday
And
to you?
Michael Berryman,
What a world.
yeah, I'm standing there eating cake with Pluto, and I'm like, this is the coolest thing that ever happened to me in my life. So
Yeah.
that's a hard one to top.
I'd say so.
I would say that. I mean, again, how to
It's
choose,
so hard. I know. It's-
from so much gold.
every
like,
weekend
as-
is
In the moment, it felt like half the time that everything was like a string away from snapping. You know what I mean? It's just all the time, but it just managed to fall into place, I guess. And I'm really proud of the whole the season as a whole was just fantastic. But for me, the one event that really just stuck with me was Real Rumble weekend.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Like
Yeah. You were so in on that event.
Oh,
dude.
it was so great. It was so like, I mean, I was just like seeing the wrestlers, come out, and like I've never seen like, like minor league wrestling before. And
Yeah.
I like, it is like the coolest thing I think I've ever seen live. Like, it's just like, it was just so intense, and they were like so into it, and you're like, oh. And that was when it all clicked to me, because like I'm 26, so like growing up,
yeah,
it was like people would just always say like, like
I'm
I wasn't, yeah, but like I wasn't allowed to watch wrestling because came from a very restricted house. So like that's also why I didn't start watching horror movies till later.
Totally.
And like people would always say it was fake, and I was like, oh well, I don't want to watch something that's fake. And then like it all clicked to me in that moment. It's like, oh, it's staged. Like they're just using the wrong word. Like it's staged, but all of the acrobatics are all 100. It's just like so impressive.
It's incredible to see live. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, like they're just all of them are so athletic, and the stunts that they were doing were just like these dudes were jumping and flipping on, like they
don't hold back.
Yeah, and there were a good amount of people there, but like it wasn't like a stadium, but they were treating it like they were, like it was, Raw or whatever, and it was just like,
yeah,
it was so sick. And that was the first time I had ever seen They Live, because we did Roddy Piper that night, and it was just like, I was like, what is this? It was like, it was still like early on, in the season, like like before Joe, we've started to like measure time by like pre-Joe Bob and like post-Joe Bob. So, like it was pre-Joe Bob when things were crazy, but we didn't understand yet. And and it was like one of those weekends that was a little bit more calm. I was able to kind of walk back and forth between like watching the event and like taking tickets. Just like looking over at Virgil, and the both of us are just beaming, because it's like it's just like this is what we do. We set these,
this is our life.
This is what we do, and we're gonna like, this isn't even our day. We're gonna now watch 2 movies.
This is all pre-game fun.
Yeah. And like They Live was just incredible, like Alex, Will mentioned him earlier, but like he's a fantastic volunteer. I mean, there's so many, there's this whole list of them, but he said something to me like that really just stuck with me. He's like, my favorite John Carpenter movie is whichever one I'm watching at the time. And like I totally get that.
It works.
Like, how do you pick one? But for me, it's like They Live always kind of rises to the top, but like, yeah, it's that was just such a great event. And then, Real Weird Weekend was also fantastic. And like Will would bring his 8mm camera, and we got to get some footage, and it was so much fun, getting footage and like giving the camera to different people, getting different perspectives. I mean, there was that. The night of Neverending Story, there was actually just a gorgeous rainbow, which was 4th of July. It was a beautiful rainbow from like one end of the valley to the other, and it was perfect.
Yeah, you could see both sides.
Yeah, like we were able to capture that on 8mm, and it was just like, that was a lot of, that was also that as like a whole, like doing the, just running around and making like home movies of
capturing the madness.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. And like Will actually like edited them. And
it's worth mentioning. If people want to watch it, they can.
Yeah, I want to.
The social medias, and we've got those posted up. I want to say they're on our YouTube as well, but I might not have posted them up because they're on Will's YouTube.
Like he put a lot of work into those, and it was something that it captures a bunch of nights. You got like Monster Mash or the 4th of July.
Very artistic. Will's a great artist. He's a great director.
Will's crazy creative. Like, he's a creative force. It's really wild. He's also a force in general. Like keeping up with him is like, like Dave and I sometimes we watch him and we're just like, it's like we've all been doing the same thing, but somehow he's still going. You know what I mean? It's nuts. Like it's nuts.
Me and Will really clicked with the band background, going from like I remember distinctly the first time that I met Will, we were talking about, our band experiences and how there's kind of a crossover with what we do here in that, we can constantly stay creative and there's a bit of instant gratification on each night. Like you don't have to wait to produce something and get a kick. So, yeah. I know it's going to be hard, Will, but where does your head go with favorite event?
I promise you this isn't like ironic or whatever. And I guess I'll need therapy, but like Joe Bob.
Yeah. Yes, I love it.
All right, well, everybody pitch in. Will is
He's
gone.
certified.
We need to get him back.
Yeah. I can agree with Will.
Okay, because
was
at one point, Dave and I were like actually like nursing Will of like heat exhaustion like at a point. So for him to say that that's his favorite, it was a pretty crazy event. Like it was a really great event,
Yeah, because like
we had to like sit him down and like put water in because we were like, you can't just keep going, like like you gotta drink water.
I know. We were all looking out for each other. It was a crazy.
Well, it was always fun because you'd have somebody who was out like they'd be like out on the lot parking cars, and someone would come along and go, look, you really need to take a break. You need to break. And you go, okay.
Like, I know you can't see yourself right now, but like,
you're actually starting to say, and your birds are slurring, and you'd be like, okay, I'll take a break. I'll go do a trash run. So you take a break and do a trash run
to go haul trash across the lot.
Like, I can hear your brain cooking in your skull. Take 5.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Like, why was it your favorite event?
If I were like lying, like got hit by a bus and like lying there dying, that's like a top 5 in my life. I'd be really proud of.
Yeah.
Like I was like, like I don't know. I think I talked to somebody that I toured with, like Ohio. This dude, and he was there like recently. He's like, I didn't know.
That's right.
And I was like, yeah, and then he was like, yeah, I was there for Joe Bob, and I was like, oh no, he was up there on the Friday night and stuff, and like, yeah, he had a good time. He's like, yeah, the weather was gnarly, and I was like, oh yeah, definitely was, but even so, like, he had a good time. So, but yeah, and I've talked to a couple other people, like regulars, and they had a good time, and like it was like the most hours I ever worked, like ever, and I've worked
consistent,
some crazy hours. Yeah, and like that's like I'm really proud of that,
You guys made that event happen, and like there were a lot of promises and things that were put out that were gonna make, specifically your guys' lives easier at the gate, because I knew it. I knew that gate between the instant sellout, people reaching out constantly to say, I got this ticket, but I meant to buy that one. I said, the guys are gonna get nailed. And between that and the organization of getting everybody onto the lot, every year we have a level up event. That thing took us like 4 levels up, and we pulled off something that really we overpacked the lot. We did more than we should have, and we still were able to pull it off. And to see it all come together, my favorite moment of last year was, when Joe Bob was up on that stage and then eventually up on that screen doing the intro to a show that we all watch and love. It was like, this is happening. This is really happening.
It was pretty wild. Yeah.
And actually, Will, now knowing you so well, I'm not surprised that was your answer. Because you do pride yourself.
Dude, most people can't.
Yeah, you do pride yourself on how hard you can go, and you should, because it's seriously impressive.
Yeah.
like
it takes a certain type of person, to like do certain it reminds me of like doing a lot of touring and stuff, like playing music, and like it's brutal. Like touring's can be at times pretty brutal, and like looking back, those are my favorite moments, or like running like band breaking down and freaking middle note, what I mean?
Nuts,
and like and like pulling together with people, and like my favorite parts are like people walking up to people being like, yo, you need to like relax. Like you need to, because it's like it's beautiful and this like
The camaraderie.
it's like Christmas Day or like Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's a little bit nicer. Like the whole like, and I eat that right up. You know what I mean? Like it gets me going. When people
Yeah.
bigger things. I don't know.
Yeah.
Come
And
together.
like,
Yeah.
and just being, I mean, like I'm not trying to get all gushy, but like being around Will, it's like, I mean, he just like he has this way of like bringing you like deeper into what you need to do to make it happen, and it's like I was able to do things that I like really just didn't think I was like, I had no idea I was capable of.
Same.
You know what I mean? Like it was just crazy. I was like, what am I doing? Like I'm like looking at myself, like, what am I doing? I'm like, oh, this is exactly what I should be doing. You know what I mean?
Listen, I couldn't have had a better person for my time as a trainee.
Hey,
I know. I'm still as a trainee. I'm not making assumptions here. I know I got my employee review coming up, but I can't think of a better person to kind of guide me on, the way things go there. I mean, and to motivate me to just do more and more, because I'm like, hey man, this is what we do. And his energy and his enthusiasm and love for that place is contagious. I mean, it just rubs off.
Dave and I would be finding ourselves pushing ourselves, and then like Will was just like, already doing, like already there, like already taking care. Like it was like, it was just, it was really good.
Please don't stop, guys. Keep going.
I was also gonna put the caveat that like Will won't talk himself up, so we have to like, we have to make sure that like that people know how. I mean, okay, well, I have a Will story for you. I wasn't even there, but just like when there was a literal hurricane blowing over the lot. Like
that's right.
He was there physically holding down the tarps and the tents that we use for merch and everything. And that was all he just volunteers because that's what he likes to do. And it's just so admirable, because it's, I mean, fighting wind with ropes and sails,
it's like Lieutenant Dan.
Of water. Yeah, with a yellow slicker on, just like exactly.
Curse in the storm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. No, but you guys
just like fighting flooding, it's so impressive. Like it really is. It's like again a force, like a force, and coming from like the most like approachable, kindest person that I've met in like a long time. It's really wild. Like
you guys have a way of
just
like leveling each other up. And the beautiful thing over the year is like, we gave you guys this leadership role, but in a weird way, you guys bring out amazing leadership qualities in each other. Like you push each other. And like I said earlier, there's not a thing that can come up that I'm like, the lot guys can handle that. There's no problem. We got the guys here. It's fine.
Thank you, Virgil. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. It really means a lot. But because also I think like the three of us aren't like inherently leaders. That's why like Will and I were so surprised that we were like given the position.
Oh, you guys are perfect.
I was like, I don't know how to like delegate, I just know how to put my nose to the grindstone and get it done,
Right.
Like if and apparently that's what we needed. And then
that's what it takes.
Yeah. Because Will and I were working together for a while, and it's funny because it seemed like so long, but really it was only like a month or maybe 2, and
2 months
Dave
tops.
Yeah, and then Dave came along, and it was like 3 amigos, like it was perfect. But it was one of those things where like none of us I feel like are, because we're all kind of like, we just kind of flow, like we do what we need to do and get it done. So I think as a group, we kind of individually push each other to what we each see is capable of the other, I'm like, oh, I know that you can do this. So like, I have no doubt that you can handle it. And like you said, Virgil, you know, like and so I think we all kind of support each other with that, because I mean, we have to confront people, and we have to be security,
assertive.
And I am, you know, I'm not assertive. And like, but if you put a righteous cause behind me, then I get a little bit more confident. But like,
when all else fails, John, I break out the dad stare. You know.
Well, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. You know, you got the jeans, you got the Monarchs, you know, you got the dungarees. Like, like no one would mess with you, and that's what I'm saying.
I give him the
man of the world
dad stare, and that'll shut you.
That usually quells all problems.
Yeah. So, but just like knowing that, you know, I can go into a situation and like, because we got, you know, because we have people stay overnight, and I love it. You know, that's why I can basically work there, is because we have an overnight pass. And like, sometimes you're dealing with people who are a little bit more comfortable, you know, because when you're like in sleep, you know, you get a little bit more comfortable. So you're dealing with people who, you know, sometimes are a little bit more standoffish, whatever, and it's just knowing that I have the support of those two guys and everybody else behind me. It's like I feel so much more comfortable with it, because I know that I have a team that I can call on, that I trust, and like, you know, like whatever it is, like we'll handle it because we have to. And like, that's honestly what Will like instilled it, you know, like got into my head, is like, yeah, well, it's got to be done, so you got to do it. You know, it's like you're like, okay, well, that's
done and done. You got it.
Wow, that's so beautifully simple and perfect. All I have to do is throw myself at it, and it'll be done. And you're like, wow, okay.
That's one of the great things about Will and John is, you know, that's not my job. We get the radio call for everything that runs the entire spectrum, whether it's,
hey, there's a baby crying, can you go silence the baby?
That was one of my favorites.
Yeah, or whether it's
that was a
toilet paper in the porta johns, you know.
Hey, the porta potties stink. Can you unstinkify the porta potty?
Thanks.
that one's a gem. But we get the whole spectrum, and there's never a, well, that ain't my job. I mean, it's just, let's go, let's do it. You know?
Yeah, all for one.
Yeah,
I liken it to a band. You know, it really does have a parallel where it's like, this gig has to go off tonight, and we are putting on the show. So we are the ones. I used to always liken it to a band, but the more I think about it, we are kind of like the Little Rascals, you know?
Yes, I love that.
We're always putting on a show, but there's a little craziness to it all.
Yeah, because like the cars are like floppy and like, you know, but they're getting down the road and you're having a great time. You know what I mean? Like, you're having the time of your life. Yeah.
Well, one of my favorite memories with you guys on the lot last year was the Found Footage Festival, because we all connected on that type of humor, I think. And even late night, we stocked up on the Found Footage Festival DVDs to have on the lot. And so many great nights just popping on the DVDs and just laughing our asses off, because it really is. It's the perfect humor for us, and those guys being on the lot. Yeah,
it's so perfect. Good. That's another thing I can thank Will for. Those guys, the Found Footage Festival they have a YouTube show called VCR Party, and it is
the greatest.
It's one of those gems.
It's the jam. Yep.
It's just a fantastic. It's so good. It like Virgil always says, it's like belly laughs. Like, it is belly laughs. Like, you're like, you feel tired after watching it. You were laughing so hard. You know, like, it's so good.
I love it.
And honestly, I should put more stock into this, but I didn't even that didn't even hit me until
that
really
was
now.
My second. Yeah. That's what's
like
funny. Virgil said that. That was my second.
Yeah.
But you had the best.
And again, I'm not surprised that you said that, because that was also that night. Like, again, that was like basically a hurricane came in, and that was after. Yeah, that was after a sold out weekend. That was that was VHS Fest. So it was like, it was a sold out weekend. We were beyond exhausted. The next weekend was Joe Bob. And then we were like, this is great. We're going to have like 60 people here. Virgil was like, you can kick back. It's all good. You know, and then like a monsoon hits.
And then
again,
the world,
like,
the sky is open.
It was
but yeah,
really
it was
wild.
so great because I know how much Will loves those guys, and he was running mics for them and literally saved the show at the end, holding their tent
like
down.
again, like this is an image that I have seen so many times as Will fighting the elements with a tent of some sort, whether it's a rope or a pole, but it's something, and him just fighting the wind, and he has won every time, and it's really impressive. But yeah, that night was really, that like sparked something that was just, that was I guess a favorite thing that happened in that whole season, was that I was introduced to these guys, and these guys are hilarious. They're so
totally
funny.
Yeah, that I would say definitely is a connector for all of us. Where it's like, but we know we can go to that. But it's clear, guys, we're gonna have to have you back on. Like we're just scratching the surface with all the fun stories and madness to be had. And keep in mind, guys, these guys started last season. Like it's crazy.
Technically hasn't been a year yet of working there. I guess like it is a year now. But
last weekend was the one we came for.
Crazy. Happy anniversary.
Because it was an earlier season. So it was last. Yeah, it's been a year.
It's crazy.
I'm definitely a changed man after this season, and I'm happy about it.
You find yourself at the Mahoning.
Oh my, yeah. Well, because it really, like it. I have a confidence that I didn't have before, that I just have, this group of people that, that I'm
being involved in this thing.
Yeah. And I'm involved in this thing that I care about, and people respond to the effort that I put in, and it's, and that's not why I do it. And it just, really, I could say I do it for the fans, I do it for whatever, but really I do it for myself, just the feeling that I know that I'm doing something that I feel is good, I feel is good. And people, some people will walk away and be frustrated, but people always do. But the majority of people will just be happy and are happy to be there. And, they see you, and we get people who come every week, and it's just, we got to know so many people, and this is all coming out of a year of being locked down. You know what I mean? That it's just
and not seeing a soul yet.
Right.
Yeah. And I could barely see my family, and then going and just being, and that's what I wanted. That's also why I did it, is because I wanted to just be submerged in it. I wanted to be submerged in people. I wanted to be around people. I wanted to interact with them. I missed them. I missed their, their smiles and their hatred and their love. I missed it all. And it's just, I just missed, I missed being in, just around a crowd and not really being involved, but just because I've always, when I was a kid, I would do, I did theater, but I always did, the behind,
stage crew.
Stage crew. That's actually, I can't think of the word. I haven't done this solo. But yeah, I do stage crew, and I did that for years. And I always loved that. I loved the being a part of it, and then, but not being, and I don't want to be in the spotlight, but I want it to happen because I like it. I believe in it, and I was in a band for a while, and it was, it's a very similar feeling. And it's just something that it's just, it's one of those things. It hits that.
Ultra rewarding,
Yeah, it's just, so in the end, I love everybody, but I really do. The feeling that I get from it, I try not to be all, mushy about it, but it's like a spiritual experience, because it's a group connection, and you're outside and you have the smell of the grass and the trees and the buds blooming, and the sweet smell of water and corn. It's just the concoction of mountain air. It's really intoxicating. And then you're sitting there amongst the Poconos and the valley, and just you kick back, you look up, and you can see just all of the constellations in the sky. You can see the Milky Way going across. And, I because of our beautiful fans, I've learned more about, the night sky. And it's just like, I'm just walking and somebody's like, you start talking about somebody for a second, and then all of a sudden you learn where Jupiter is and Mars. And you're like, that's Saturn. That's the brightest star in the sky. It's not actually a star, it's Saturn. You're like, that's so cool. Thank you. Like, oh my gosh, and you just learn these things. And like, that was a maybe like a minute interaction, and here I'm going, and I'm like, oh, because like, we put so much effort in. I find myself sometimes just not even watching the movies, like especially if I've seen it before, just hearing it,
Sure.
Like it brings it back. But I'll just like kick back and just stare at the sky, and it's just, that to me is so, like, that is something that I have missed so much about not being there in the off season, which
it connects you.
I didn't realize that I would miss this much. I mean, I won't get too deep into it, but I have seen something mysterious floating in the sky.
You wouldn't be the first to say so.
I couldn't identify.
Last year was we had that, I don't know what show it was, but we had that string of lights that went across the sky, and people were freaking out. Yo, it was surreal.
It wasn't fire in the sky, was it? That would be
that would have been perfect.
That would have been way too long.
It was like a string of like 10 lights all moving together across the sky, super slow. I remember seeing something about it on the news the next day.
Virgil,
like,
you never
explained what it was.
This.
Dude, it was. I legitimately, my fear of fire in the sky. So it's like, I legitimately was like, I can't explain this, guys. I don't know what that is. Yeah, it's some stuff. Man.
Yeah, Will and I witnessed it. I have a witness who saw it, and I talked to other people who saw it too. So, and that was 2 other people who witnessed each other. Yeah, so it was a cigar-shaped.
Oh, you gotta hang on to this story though.
Yeah, Mark.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right.
Mark,
I'll
Mark, you might want to edit this. You want to edit this part.
Yeah, I might want to edit that part out.
We really don't want to get any visits from like the Men in Black. I just.
Wait, give them to me. I want them. No, I don't. Well, I do not want visits from the Men in Black. No, thank you.
It's clear, guys. You were meant to be here. You were meant to come at this time, and I can't thank you enough for everything that you guys bring to the table and bring to the fandom here and the experience. It's a beautiful thing, and thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Thank you. Very good.
The pleasure's all mine.
You got it. Well, I love you guys, and
we're done already. What?
To get back. Well, I don't know.
No, I'm kidding.
We've been going a while.
Yeah, we've only been talking for 3.5 or 3 hours.
I said,
but we just started. We just scratched the surface.
That's what part 2 is for.
That's right. Plenty of ground to cover, and once we get back on the lot, man, the stories will start stacking up again.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
And look, if you're the listener and we freaked out your kids, we apologize. It happens, and we'll say it. It was Dave Wright. So
and they'll be thinking about this forever.
Yeah. For all you guys who enjoyed this episode, be sure to stay tuned. Weekly, we got these puppies coming out. Hopefully you guys had a great time with this episode, and stay tuned for part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and as we go on. So, all right, on that note, Jeff, take it away, my friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for coming out tonight to the Mahoning Drive-In Theater. We hope you'll come back and see us again real soon. The exit is on the right-hand side of the screen at the front of the field, and most importantly, have a very safe trip home. Good night, and God bless you.